How is everybody doing today? Welcome back to another live stream on the channel. We've got a lot to discuss in today's live stream. We just had a major ruling come through from the Supreme Court on Trump's tariffs, essentially ruling that the tariffs are not legal based off the IEPA, thing that they're using to justify it. So for those of you who don't know what IEPA is, it is essentially this emergency power act that Trump has when it comes to trade, and or Trump supposedly had, but the Supreme Court has now came out and ruled that Trump cannot use that to justify the tariffs. Trump has just come out and said that he has another way to essentially still use tariffs, but now this is just going to create all this uncertainty in the market again. And, Trump's going to try and put tariffs on again using something else, and then maybe the court strikes that down, and you just find yourself in this continued loop of uncertainty, which obviously isn't typically seen as too good for markets. But we'll discuss that a little bit later on in the live stream. First, all I ask from you guys is that you leave a like on the stream and you subscribe if you are new. I'm doing these streams every single day, and we've got a lot to discuss in today's live stream. I'm going to update you on the Bitcoin chart. We're seeing some interesting things on the short time frames. And as always, I'm going to discuss my favorite altcoins and update you guys on the ones I personally would actually be buying in this current market. And I'll be telling you my preferred order of preference out of the 8 altcoins that I've revealed to you guys already. So smash the likes up on the stream. Let's try and get as many likes on this live stream as possible. Just a quick reminder, the waitlist for the course is live. So if you're interested in joining my course for navigating crypto in 2026, I highly recommend you join the waitlist. There are 2 ways to join the waitlist. One way is simply by buying the course alone. Another way is by joining the big bundle, which is currently on a sale. If you use the code at checkout, let me just double check what the code is. Bundle 2026. If you use the code Bundle 2026 at checkout, you're going to save yourself 25% off the big bundle, which gives you the course and gives you lifetime mentor tier access as well. So that's the VIP, but even better. So check all of that out in the description. The code Bundle 2026 applies to the bundle alone, whereas if you want, you can just buy the course alone as well. There's 2 options there for you guys. But I highly recommend getting on the course because it gives you my full strategy, my full outline of what I am planning on doing this year. And it's very in-depth. It's about 3 hours long. It took a long time to do. So definitely recommend it. But anyway, let's get into the top altcoins. So as of right now, these are my top altcoins. There are some cryptos on my radar. But they're not in my portfolio, right? And a lot of people keep asking me, what do I think about Aero? What do I think about Morpho? What do I think about Ondo? I like a lot of these, right? But I don't hold them. So just because I don't hold a coin doesn't mean I don't like it. You've just got to have a short and sweet portfolio. You can't have too many projects because it will become unmanageable. Okay, so that's really my strategy right now with my portfolio, is to keep it manageable, keep it tight. And yeah, maybe I'll add 1 or 2 projects to it, but for the time being, I'm quite happy with the number of projects, and I'm happy with the ones I've selected. In terms of today, which ones would I personally be stacking? I would just be stacking the ones that haven't moved yet from the lows. So Say hasn't really moved too much from the lows. XPL hasn't really moved too much from the lows. Sui and Kaspa haven't really moved too much either. But we have seen a little move up on Solana and a little move up on Tau and Asta. So maybe those wouldn't be the ones I'd be buying as heavily as maybe the others, which are still quite cheap. If we take a look at Bitcoin, what we can see is that we had a breakdown, and I shared this with you guys on the last live stream. So I highly recommend that you guys watch every live stream, just have notifications on. It's an hour out the day, it's 30 minutes out the day. And you're just going to be able to keep up to date with what I'm seeing in the markets and my full kind of train of thought. And what we're seeing with Bitcoin is we had this bit of a breakdown, this red candle on the 4 hour. Then we tried to get back into the range. We rejected. Then we come back down. And then I think what happened is smart money maybe heard about the tariff ruling, because quite often, word spreads. and they started buying back in. Then we got the news. We had a crazy amount of volatility, instant pump, I think, and then an instant dump. So loads of liquidations happened around the tariff news, which if you look at this chart on the 4 hour, you wouldn't really think that there was just major news regarding the tariffs. And the reason why I don't think it looks like there's been a major news event is because a lot of this was already priced in regarding the tariffs. I've been saying on live streams for months that most likely the Supreme Court will overturn the tariffs. But the question is, does Trump have an ace up his sleeve which he can utilize as a card when it comes to the legality of tariffs? Because it's very evident that the IEEPA situation was not possible. You can't use IEEPA. So now he's probably going to try and use something else. And that's why I think, you know, this news event hasn't really moved the needle too much because a lot of it was already priced in. And that's why I always say to you guys that the market is a lot more intelligent than what we think. This is just a general bit of advice for people, okay? Not financial advice, but just a little tip that I would give you from years and years in the crypto market. I know I'm young, I know I'm 21, but I have been in crypto since I was a young teenager. So it has been a long time now. And one bit of advice I could say is that markets price things in way before you even could imagine. All right? The big players are thinking 6 to 12 months into the future right now. And they're already starting to price in the midterm elections. They're already starting to price in the new Fed chair. They're already starting to price in rate cuts 6 and 12 months down the line. Markets are very forward-looking, especially something which is highly liquid, like Bitcoin. It's extremely forward-looking. And that is why we haven't necessarily seen a major shock to the system with this tariff news. That's one reason. The other reason we haven't had a major move in the market is also because Trump's probably going to just fight it and try and use something else. So it's probably not going to fully remove tariffs. And that's actually what one of the major banks in the US said earlier today, was that Trump's just going to use something else for the tariffs. And this is not going to remove tariffs. So unfortunately for some people, tariffs are not going. They're probably just going to use a different justification for them. That's what it seems to, to be happening. So we lost the range. We tried to get back in the range. Then we almost got back in the range. And then we lost it again. So as of right now, I'm still seeing a bit of a breakdown on Bitcoin. I've got to be honest with you. In order for us to really basically invalidate this breakdown, we need to get back above kind of 71,000, 72,000. We need to get above that high. Otherwise, we're still very much in this range. And I've got to be honest, when I zoom out and I see that this was a range that was straight after a major dump, that increases the chance that this is just a continuation pattern and we're going to continue to go lower. Okay, unless we get a breakout, you've just got to assume that we're going lower here. And that is my base case as of right now. Not going super low, I want to make it clear. But I think we're probably going to make a slight lower low, or maybe even a double bottom. And then that way we can maybe get the bearish divergence on the 4 hour or on the daily RSI. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. We're going to go slightly lower in price, but the RSI is actually going to make a higher low, which will create what is called a bullish divergence. A bullish divergence is where the RSI goes higher, but the price goes lower. And it basically signals a loss of momentum for the sellers, and that maybe the sellers are starting to get exhausted and we may be due a move to the upside. So that's just what I'm seeing in the market. I'm still looking at a potential breakdown here just out of this triangle or this bear pennant, as well as the fact that we have a bit of an M pattern. If you just look at Bitcoin here on a very basic standpoint, it looks like a bit of an M pattern. So maybe we are going to go and fulfill that and come down to the lows again and sweep them. And honestly, that wouldn't really be a terrible thing. It wouldn't be a terrible thing if we go and sweep the lows. In my opinion, it would actually be a bullish thing. I said this on one of the recent live streams, that the bullish scenario for me is that Bitcoin actually goes lower. And why is that bullish, you may ask? Because it basically confirms a potential bottom. If we go a little bit lower and we can create a bullish divergence, that confirms a bottoming signal, and a lot of smart money will start buying back in if we get that. So until that happens, I still think there's a lot of apprehensive people. There's still a lot of sideline people expecting lower. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. Like I said, in terms of the altcoins I would be buying right now, I would be just putting the emphasis on the alts that are still down quite a lot. I mean, there's no harm in buying Solana here or buying Asta here or Tau, but they've just had a nice little bounce from the lows. So maybe if I was just being picky, I would be stacking the altcoins which haven't had that big bounce from the lows yet. And that way you're still buying the absolute floor on some of these alts. So let's take a little look on the crypto market, see what's happening. So Bitcoin's up 1% today, seeing a little bit of red on the last hour. Ethereum up just over 1%. The biggest gainer on the day is Kite. Second biggest gainer on the day is Layer 0. And third is Morpho. Morpho's doing very, very well. This is one of the alts I've been talking about for years. Or maybe not years, but almost a year or just over a year, something like that. But I've been talking about it for a long time. It's been one of those plays that we've been discussing on the channel for some time. And the biggest losers, Chiliz, Pi, and Aave. So bit of a mixed market, but mostly green. And the stock market's the same, mostly green in the stock market. But one thing I'm seeing here is gold is starting to pump. If you pull up gold on the 15-minute, you're seeing a bit of a breakout move here on gold, which is typically bearish for Bitcoin. So the fact that Bitcoin's pulling back a little bit in the last 15 minutes to an hour makes sense because gold is starting to push up. So maybe we're going back to that uncertainty trade again. And what happens when there's uncertainty in the market? Everyone seems to just rush towards gold as the kind of hedge against geopolitical and macro uncertainty. And we have both of those right now. We have macroeconomic uncertainty when it comes to the tariff situation. We don't know what's going to happen there because now it seems like it's going to be continued with some other form of justification for it. And we have geopolitical uncertainty right now. People are still debating whether Trump is going to actually go into Iran. And some people are even saying that the leader's going to be ousted. If you look at the Polymarket polls, some of those are suggesting that Khomeini could even be ousted in the next few months. So if that happens, you've got then a massive power vacuum. You've got major geopolitical risk if something like that happens. So, you know, there's just a big amount of uncertainty right now in the market. And for that reason, I'm not necessarily expecting a major V-shaped recovery or anything like that. I'm expecting chop and sideways action for some months. And then once that is over, I am expecting the biggest bull market ever for Bitcoin and crypto. The targets that I've given you guys, I want to really, really reiterate. These targets on the screen are conservative targets. These are my low estimates. Sometimes, because I'm a YouTuber, I've just got to be a bit conservative. I can't be too much of a moon boy. Because my job is also to try and protect people's capital, right? And keep people's expectations a little bit lower. Now, that's ironic because most crypto YouTubers do the opposite. They try and put your expectations right up through the sky and then just completely disappoint you, right? But I try and just be as realistic as possible. But there is also a part of me where I don't want to say Bitcoin could go to 300K, even though I believe it could in the next few years. I don't necessarily want to say that because my job is also to try and be a bit grounded, right? And as much as my opinion is that Bitcoin could go to 200 to 300K in the next few years, I still want to be quite grounded, you know, and make sure that we're setting those expectations relatively realistically and lower rather than higher. I always think there's wisdom in the saying, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Okay? Don't prepare for the best. Always prepare for the worst. Expect it to be disappointing. And then if it's not disappointing, then you can be happily surprised, right? That's my general philosophy on life. With everything. I just bought a property today, actually. And it took about a month. The process of putting the bid in to buying it took about a month. Now, I was told by certain people it could be a few weeks, 2-3 weeks. But I always had it in my head, look, this is probably going to be a good few months. So I just expected the worst. I just expected it to take ages. So when I was told it's ready, happy days, you know? Happily surprised. And that's just a general philosophy when it comes to money and investing. Just detach your emotions, expect it to be bad, expect the worst. And if things go well, then you can be happy, right? And I know it's pretty pessimistic. I know it's pretty sad to a lot of people, but that is just my general philosophy in life. And I learned that probably around 17 or 18 years old with everything. Just always expect failure, always expect it to go wrong. And then if it goes right, then, you know, great. And by the way, I'm talking about things outside of your control. If it's inside of your control, then obviously it's different. But I'm talking about things that are outside of your control. Events that you cannot control. You've got to be stoic about it, right? You've just got to detach emotion, and things that are not in your control, you just have to expect it to just go badly, in a way. You know, and maybe that's the wrong way to look at things, but it's worked pretty well for me. Yeah, YouTube expert, I agree. Set the bar low, always. Anything above is amazing. Exactly. Always set the bar low. All right, guys, I'm going to pull up the chat. But before I do, I want to just discuss a couple more things. I want to get into the tariff situation a little bit more. And then I will also discuss just a little bit more details about the course. But we'll discuss the tariff situation first. Just give you the latest updates on that so you're very familiar with what's going on. Yeah, Sir Wills, I'm specifically talking about events that are outside of your control. If you can control it, then you shouldn't be pessimistic. If you can control it, then you should be very optimistic. You should be having the growth mindset, you know, and being abundant in your mindset. But when something isn't in your control, then yes, you can't be setting the bar high, because too often in life things don't go the way you expected, and too often people get genuinely disappointed by that. You know, it's just brutal. But you know, if my dog got sick and it went to the vets, I'd be hoping obviously that it would live. But I would almost just expect the worst outcome in my mind. Just prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's just the saying. And to some people, that's a bad way to operate in life. But for me, it almost just numbs negativity, and it allows you to just to not be overly affected by things, right? But maybe it's a bit too cold for some people. I don't know. Some people aren't ready for this on a Friday morning or whatever it is for you guys. I don't want to be too morbid. But anyway, let's get into the tariff situation. So, what happened? So the court ruled against Trump. I think it was 6-3. And then Trump came out and said recently, just after the ruling, that he has to do something about the courts. So that's something Trump said. Trump also said that he has a backup plan for the tariffs after the ruling. So he said he has to do something about the courts, and he has a backup plan. So Trump is not going out easily. I think he is going to stand up to this, and he is going to try and use some other legal framework, some other legal justification, some other precedent to try and justify implementing tariffs. So tariffs aren't going, unfortunately, as much as you may think that reading the news. Most likely they are here to stay, just in another form. And if you actually go over to Polymarket, you can see that there is a current Polymarket prediction market specifically on the matter of the court forcing Trump to refund the tariff revenue. Now, this would be bearish, in my opinion. You're seeing the market reaction from the tariffs being struck down. It's pretty neutral. If anything, it's slightly positive. But if the court actually forced Trump to refund the tariffs, I feel like the market would respond negatively to that. I personally feel like the market wouldn't like that. But let me know what you guys think. But there's currently around a 30% chance of that actually happening. So more unlikely than likely, but still significant enough to where we need to pay attention to it. So we'll get into some of the comments and discuss the course as well, man. I'm so excited for the full release of this. The early bird discount is still live, but this will be going very shortly. There's already been quite a few slots filled up, and there's only 25 slots in total. So we've already had quite a good amount of people sign up. Not quite the 25 is full yet, but there's already been a decent amount of interest and registrations for the early bird discount. Once this 25 number is full, the price will be going up drastically from that point. So I'm still deciding. I haven't fully decided yet, but I'm deciding whether I go for $2,000, $3,000. I don't know where my plan is to set the course price, but I know for a fact that it's not going to be priced at $999 for the foreseeable future. This will only be for the next day or two, most likely, and then I'll be up in the price drastically because the value in this course for me is next level. And not only are you getting 3 hours of course content by myself and Cryptex, but you're also getting monthly course updates as well. Every single month for the rest of the whole year, we're going to be updating you with additional course content. Updating you on the market, on the TA, on the projects I'd be investing in. So just see it as your full-on kind of guide to the whole year, throughout the year as well. It's not just a one-and-done thing. You're going to be getting updates consistently throughout the year. So it's an absolute no-brainer for me. And like I said, if you are interested in the course and bundling it with some other things, such as the VIP, such as mentorship, such as one-to-one calling and one-to-one messaging, then just go for the big bundle and utilize that limited time sale of the code that I just mentioned earlier, right? Which is, I believe, bundle 2026 at checkout for 25% off. So we'll get into some of the comments. Appreciate all of you being here in the stream today. Smash up the likes. Let me know if you have any questions about the market. Welcome to the stream, Tim. Welcome to the stream, Spring. Henry says, great voice call today, Archie. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It was a very good voice call. I do really enjoy, you know, the voice chats with you guys. We just had one. For those of you wondering, we did just have one before the stream. And we discussed a lot of market psychology, actually. Because as people know, markets are more psychological than what most people realize. I would say markets are maybe 25% mathematics and 75% psychology. 25% numbers and 75% psychology. The 1v1 me, bro, says Spring. Great voice chat again. Yeah, appreciate that, Kevin. Smash up the like, says Mr. J. Adrian says, thanks for the voice chat, Archie. That's why I love your group so much. Yeah, I agree, man. That's why the group is so good, because of the daily voice chats. And I think there'll be another voice chat later tonight as well, which Bren will be hosting. I think they're going to do a deep dive into one of the sectors. I know they did a deep dive into the gaming sector last night. Maybe they're going to look at meme coins or DeFi. Maybe DeFi projects today. I can't remember exactly what, but I think there will be another voice chat tonight in the group as well. Do I think the tariffs will be gone for good? No, I do not. I personally think they're going to use some other legal framework to justify the continuation of tariffs. You know, all this ruling is that the current justification is not legal or not justifiable, which is IEPA, which is basically like an international emergency powers act type of thing. Emergency Economic Powers Act. International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEPA. That's what Trump is currently using. He's probably going to try and use something else. And look, guys, think what you want about Trump. You may not like him. You may think he's impulsive. You may think whatever. But the people in his cabinet aren't just a bunch of idiots, okay? Guys like Scott Bessent, and some others, you know, they're not fools. These guys have experience in markets, and I'm sure they would have thought things through a little bit before doing the tariffs. They probably would have had an ace up their sleeve. They probably would have had another way to justify the tariffs and not just put all their eggs on one basket and expect IEPA to be the only way they can do tariffs. Surely they've got another justification. And that's what I've been saying on the channel for a long time, is even if they get rid of the tariffs, they're going to just use something else to justify them. Is AVAX worth holding? Says Self-Made Drew. AVAX is okay. I mean, if you look at the chart, it's actually a good buy. It's actually come down to super long-term support. Almost. So this is my AVAX chart. Let me just get my massive face cam out the way. So this is my AVAX chart, which you can see is currently on major support. Or almost there. You can see how many hit points we have here. This stems all the way back to 2022. And it's almost there on this massive support trend line. So now is not the time to necessarily sell AVAX, but I don't own any AVAX. It's not on my watch list. I don't think. Maybe it is. But look, if I had 50 coins to invest in, AVAX would be one of them. If I had 10 coins to invest in, AVAX wouldn't be one of them. So it's a top 50 crypto for me, but it's not a top 10 crypto for me. So it's not like you're holding absolute crap, but you're just not holding the best coin, in my opinion. There's better coins out there. I much prefer Sui or Solana. But AVAX is super cheap, I'll give you that. What do I think about Stellar and XRP? Again, they're not bad plays, but I think there's better projects with better prospects. They're heavily centralized coins, which is always a risk if you look at the token allocation. And I'm just not I'm not the biggest fan of XRP in general. I think a lot of it's just hype, a lot of talk of it being, you know, the de facto cross-border payments solution, and that it's going to replace Swift. I mean, a lot of it's hopes and dreams. Maybe some of it comes into fruition, but I'm not exactly sold on XRP personally. And the major risk with XRP is the power that the team has. I mean, it's been discussed like what percentage they have of the supply, but it's certainly a huge percent. Some people say 50%, some people say more than that, some people say less than that. I think there's absolutely no doubt that they own a huge percent of the supply. And whenever they decide to sell, well, you're getting dumped on. That's just a reality. Pygos says, I think $200,000 makes sense. Yeah, 200K is reasonable. But honestly, I think it's a relatively low bar to set. The problem is, I keep saying this. I'm sorry I'm a broken record at this point. I keep saying this. But everyone has this mental framework right now that just because 2025 was lackluster and disappointing, every other bull run is going to be lackluster and disappointing. And I just completely and utterly disagree with that. All right. 2025 was disappointing. It was lackluster. We never had the blow-off top altcoin season. But that does not mean that going forward, we'll never have it again. And I don't necessarily fully believe in this whole diminishing returns argument. I mean, there's clearly evidence of a diminishing return cycle to cycle on Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean it's going to go on forever. At some point, we're going to have a breakout cycle where Bitcoin does pull some sort of gold move. I mean, you could say there's been diminishing returns on gold, but look at what's just happened over the last couple of years with gold. With the central bank adoption, with the uncertainty in the markets. Look how much that's favored gold. I just think Bitcoin's earlier on in that move, but Bitcoin will be due a move just like what gold and silver have done in the coming years, in my opinion. And that will blow diminishing returns completely out the window. And all these people saying Bitcoin's never going to have a major bull run again, they're all going to be proven wrong. Too many people are stuck in this recency bias mindset. Pure and utter recency bias. There's loads of examples of it. One is, this cycle was bad, therefore all the cycles are going to be bad. You should never hold crypto. That's one excuse people make. Another is, altcoins didn't do too well this bull run. So guess what I'm going to do next bull run? I'm going to not hold altcoins. I'm just going to hold Bitcoin. That's another freaking ridiculous, low IQ, stupid thing to say, in my opinion, that a lot of people are saying. And it's just all these logical fallacies. It's just, you know, when you're on a high wavelength, it's just so frustrating hearing the amount of logical fallacies out there in the market. And I hear way too many people saying, this cycle altcoins weren't very good, so next cycle I'm just all in on BTC. I honestly hope the best for them. But I genuinely think that next bull run, altcoins are going to do insane. At least the high quality altcoins will. And all these people who thought they were so smart just holding Bitcoin because alts didn't do too well in 2025, they're all going to be regretting it. They're all going to be wishing that they held alts. But they suffered with recency bias and it clouded their judgment, you know? Their judgment was clouded by recency bias, and it happens to a lot of us. You know, you hear it as well with gold, right? People say, I should have just been in gold. Next bull run, I'm only holding gold. And it's like, yeah, sure, buddy. You just hold gold next bull run and let's see what happens. Let's see what Bitcoin does compared to gold next time around. But they think just in this really low IQ perspective, just because something happened recently, they think that's going to be the case forever. I just really fear for these people with this mindset. If Bitcoin drops to 40k, then 200k is a 5x, so that's still solid, yeah. Yeah, it's still solid, but I don't think it's a given that we go down to 40k. It's certainly possible, and you know, if you look historically speaking at bear markets, they do usually go down to the 786 fib, so 40k does make sense, but I'm not necessarily thinking we go as low as 40, because everyone's saying it Pygos. This is the thing, right? You were around last bear market. You've been a long-term viewer of the channel. You're a smart guy. You know for yourself. When everyone's saying a certain number, usually that gets front run and people start buying in earlier than that. And I remember everyone was saying $10,000 in the last bear market, and it wasn't to be. 10,000 and 13,000. They were the two numbers every single influencer was saying. And it's the same now with 40k, in my opinion. I hear everyone saying between 33 and 40k will be the bottom. Everyone. So maybe it's not because of that. I mean, I haven't got a crystal ball, but I'm just speaking my mind, guys. That's what I do on this channel. All I do is just speak my mind. I just tell you what I'm thinking, tell you my thought process, and it's up to you to do what you want with it. Trump is doing a press briefing in half an hour on the Supreme Court decision. Okay, interesting. Well, it says it will be in half an hour, but we know what Trump's like. When he says he's going to be doing something in half an hour, it's usually 3 hours later. So I don't know if I'm going to keep the stream running for that, unfortunately, because usually they're not on time. Hey man, do I think Pepe can do a 15x or bonk? If I had to pick one of them, I'd go for Pepe. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think we'll hit the 50k range? When you say 50k range, you gotta specify exactly what you mean by that. Plus or minus what? Plus or minus a couple $1,000 or plus or minus $5,000? Because if you mean plus or minus a couple $1,000, I give it maybe a 50% chance. But I think there's a high probability that we go down to like 55 to 58k again. But But going into 50 and lower, I give a less than 50% chance. Going 50 and lower. I think we're probably going to find a lot of support around like 53 or 55, just somewhere in the low to mid 50s. Because that's where the 200-week moving average is. And I think it just makes sense that we're going to make one more lower low, slightly lower to catch people off guard. Everyone thinks it's doomsday and we're going to zero, and then we just absolutely explode from there. Not instantly, but we'll range for a bit and then we'll explode. I love the voice chat. I'm just too shy to talk, lol. Been in your group for about 7 months. Don't be shy to talk. I mean, the way you learn the most is by speaking, I find. At least with myself. You know, it's all well and good listening to people talk about the market, but if you're actively involved in the conversation, you learn so much more if you're actively speaking. So definitely join in the calls. Everyone is welcome to speak. If you're a paying VIP member, then you're absolutely welcome to speak in the calls. You know, I understand if there's 100 people in the call, maybe you don't want to speak, but if there's only 10 or 20, then that's the perfect time to speak up, right? How low do I think Ethereum can go? So there's a big amount of support on ETH with this kind of trend line. You see that? So a lot of these charts look the same. As long as there's no major black swan event, like an FTX or anything like that, or a World War III scenario, then most likely I think we're going to maintain this range. I mean, we can wick below it, and we could even get one weekly close below it, but most likely I think we're going to maintain this range unless there's a major black swan. So yeah, like 1.7k is probably a good level to DCA into ETH. There is a scenario, and I don't want to say this, but I have to say it just because I've got to give all scenarios to you guys. But if we do have a very deep bear market and Bitcoin does go down to like 40k, and we do see some major black swan capitulation events, such as a major exchange going bankrupt, then Solana could bottom out anywhere between $800 to 1.3k if we have a deeper bear market. But like I've said many times, my base case is that we don't have a deeper bear market. I've always said that it's a possibility, but I've never said that it's my base case. My base case is more a bottom around, you know, this kind of range here. But just because something isn't my base case, guys, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? We all know that. I've been wrong before in life, and I'll be wrong again. But as long as you're right more than you're wrong, that's the key part. I don't mind a delay of the bull run. More loading for me. The longer we wait, the bigger the explosion. Exactly. The longer you wait, the bigger the impulsive move will be. That's a very, very true statement. The longer something compresses and the longer something goes sideways, the more when it actually gets that breakout, the more impulsive that breakout is, because it's been suppressed, 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 kept down, kept down, kept down. And then when you finally let it go through, it blasts through the roof and just goes straight to the moon. So yeah, you make a good point. You make a very good point. What do I think about Aptos? Again, it's okay, but it's not in my top list. It's come down a lot. Doc says, damn, at work presently, can't watch, but hey, gotta have money to buy, right? You gotta have a job and dedicate your best. Alts gotta rock, stacking at these low prices. Yeah. Gotta be buying the cheap prices, guys. Omar says, don't forget to get in that course, guys. It comes with a monthly update of the market and not just a set and forget thing. Don't miss it. Absolutely, Omar. Well said. 100%. You're getting those monthly updates. I mean, even the course alone is worth thousands in my opinion, but getting the monthly updates as well, it's insane. It's incredible. and you're getting another guy as well. So you're not just getting my POV, you're getting Cryptex, who's like a full pure trader. I'm more of an investor, guys. Like I'll be completely honest. I'm an investor. I'm good at buying for long-term plays, finding quality altcoins. Cryptex is an actual trader. So you're getting both sides of the aisle in terms of crypto, and man, it's going to be valuable for you guys. People are going to make so much money off that course. I'm sure of it. Okay, Crypto Spotter says, fair warning to all viewers. Archetype is back to prey on the normies. Beware, only listen to Archie. Archetype is like a used car salesman that will rug you. I was in his group before. Archie is the GOAT. Yeah, interesting point, man. It's funny. He always goes away for a good few months and then makes a comeback, I've noticed. And it's like, everyone just forgets, and then they forgive him, and then just get rugged again. It's insane, man, what goes on. But, hey, hopefully this is the time he changes his ways, right? Hopefully this is the time, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I didn't even know he made a comeback. That's insane. You know, a lot of these YouTubers who were around when I was doing gaming coins and when I was kind of at the peak of my viewership on YouTube, they're all nowhere to be seen now. They got their channels banned because they were scamming. They were doing illegal shit. They just quit because everyone left their group because they, you know, just stopped making anyone any money. And people saw through the BS. So, like, it's just funny how so many of these YouTubers back in the day have left. They've left the scene now. Crazy. What do you think the possibilities are of Kaspa not reaching a new all-time high? How confident are you in it? I think it's highly likely that Kaspa will make a new all-time high at some point. The question is when. That's the question. It's highly likely it makes a new high, but probably not this year, maybe even not next year. I think it definitely could next year. This year is out of question for me. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but next year it's certainly a possibility. All Kaspa needs to do is just one breakout move, and that impulsive wave will take it to 30 cents, in my opinion. I'll show you my Kaspa chart right now. And Kaspa are getting into the stablecoins narrative as well. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it is really like the perfect chain for stablecoins. If you think about it, it's the perfect project to have stablecoins on because of the fact it's fast and decentralized. But anyway, you can see this is my Kaspa chart, and there is clear price compression. It's clearly in some form of a wedge. It's very bottomed out with the RSIs, and it has been for a long time. And it's been in a bear market since 2024. So it's one of those coins that has been selling off longer than Bitcoin. It's showing signals of weakening seller momentum, in my opinion. The sellers are looking quite exhausted with Kaspa. And yeah, it's as simple as whenever it breaks this massive resistance line here, I think within a couple of months from that point, it will be at a new high. And I'll have it go into like 30 cents and above from that breakout move alone. So Kaspa will make a new high in my opinion, but just not anytime soon. We need Bitcoin to make a new high probably, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. We need retail to come back as well because Kaspa is quite a retail orientated coin. There's not a huge amount of institutional interest in Kaspa compared to something like XRP or whatever. We all know the reasons for that. It's because of the fact that it's decentralized. But you need retail to come back. You need a bit of hype again. And yeah, I believe it will make a new high. But it's just not going to happen anytime soon. You just got to be patient, guys. If you can't hold for a few years to make a 10, 20x, then you shouldn't even be in crypto. If you can't hold for a couple years to make a 10x, I mean, just quit. Because you might as well just go to the casino on the slot machine or something, because that type of mindset is just going to get you wrecked. Needing those instant 10x's. Just buy what you believe in, buy the quality, and stick around for a few years and you'll make money. What are my stance on robotics? I think it will do fine. You talking about in the crypto sense or in the stock market sense? I think Deepin is actually a narrative which has some promise, but it just never got going for whatever reason. But I think Deepin projects could do quite well. Decentralized physical infrastructure networks. I think they could do well. Archie, for coins like ADA, AVAX, NEAR, Injective, and DOT, would you sell now and buy Kaspa or Bitcoin, or better to wait for a pump? So some of these are better than others. Cardano and DOT, I just wouldn't hold in general. AVAX, NEAR, and Injective are all okay, but they're just not top 10 projects, right? They're not top tier. They're not S tier. These are like... So ADA and DOT, I'd say, are like C tier, and then AVAX, NEAR, and Injective, I'd say, are like B tier. You just haven't got any S or A tiers in that list. So you got a few ways to play it. You could wait for a little bounce and then sell on an exit pump, or you could just sell them all now and restructure your portfolio now and get rid of the headache. That's a decision for you to make. I can't tell you what to do. Archie, good morning, brother. VC this morning was a great chat. Thanks for your insights. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I love it when Americans say good morning to me and it's literally like 10 p.m. But I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate it. But I find it funny. You Americans must think the whole world's time zone is just the same as yours. It's like a lot of Americans think the Super Bowl is like the biggest sports event in the world. I mean, I don't blame them, right? America is the most powerful country, so I understand why some of them are kind of in a bit of a cave and don't really go and look elsewhere, because America is huge. But I find it funny sometimes. I'm only playing around, of course, but I do find it funny how I always get the good morning at 10 p.m. Mo Gaines. I recognize that name. Time to buy Swarm Markets. Man, Swarm Markets I have not heard about in a long, long time. Super long time. What is Swarm Markets doing lately? Swarm Markets. This was an RWA project, right? And they did have some connections, to be fair to them. It wasn't one of these scammy RWA coins. It was like one with actual connections. So it's in a bit of a channel. It looks like it's in a bit of a channel, descending channel. Let's see what the market cap is on this one. This is an OG play of mine, by the way. I used to hold this ages ago, like years ago. 4 mil market cap, up 20% today. Problem with this is the exchange listings are very crap. It's only listed on Gate and MEXC. I mean, those are just like basic exchanges. Not impressive at all. But I'll give you this. You know, considering the crypto market has just had a major bear market, this chart doesn't look that bad on the monthly or the yearly. Doesn't look that bad on either of those time frames. Monthly looks fine, yearly looks fine. So I'll give you that. And I'll tell you as well, when I looked into this a long time ago, it looked fine. But why is it still a tiny market cap? And why is it only on these two very basic exchanges? And it's been around for a long ass time. So those would be my questions for you to address. But it looks fine. What is the buying range for XPL? Well, it's a bit of a tricky one because it is a falling knife. So it's kind of hard to find a buying range for something that just keeps on dropping. All I would say is just buy the red candles if you're bullish on it. If you're bullish on it, just buy the red candles. Anywhere below 11 cents, in my opinion, is a great buy on XPL. Razzie says, have I ever been to New York City, and what did I think about it? Honestly, I wasn't overly impressed, but maybe I just didn't go the right places. Maybe I didn't go the right places. I think New York's one of those places where you really need to know the good spots. And I went there a little while ago, and I've realized that some cities, you really need to know, like, the places to go, the restaurants to eat in. Because it's so big, if you just walk around the street, you know, and just try and find somewhere willy-nilly, you're not going to find anywhere good. You have to know the spots. You have to know the places to go in those major cities. Especially not like New York, where you have like either extremes, right? You have completely poor people, and then you have the ultra wealthy people as well. But I also went in the winter, and it was super cold. I think places are different depending on when you go. London, I'll tell you, is very different in the summer compared to the winter. Just a completely different feeling. It almost feels like a different city. If you go to London on a hot summer's day, completely different to in like the grey autumn or fall or winter, you know? Completely different. So I think there's multiple factors that go into play. Will XRP go below $1? I think it will, just based off the chart, but it's one of those. If Bitcoin's close to bottoming out, then is XRP going to keep dumping? Maybe not. But when I look at this chart, I've told you guys this many times, I see it just coming straight back down to where the big volume is, to where all that base is. Usually when something has a God candle, it is not sustainable. It failed to build, you know, higher highs, higher lows on the way up. It just went straight up, and therefore it usually will come straight back down. It's only a matter of time. And I've got to be honest, when I look at XRP, that is what it looks like. It looks like it's going to come down to this big base. Could be wrong, but that's just what I'm seeing. And it could take time to play out. How often do you get robbed in London? I've never been robbed in London, but my mate got robbed. He lost his phone and all of his crypto they stole. They rinsed him. Which was unfortunate, but I told the guy, keep your phone in your pocket. So I don't want to say he deserved it, because that's pretty cruel, but if you walk around a major city in Europe or the US with your phone out, you're kind of asking for it. Just keep your phone in your pocket. If you're in Dubai, you can walk around with a Rolex and your phone out, and nothing's going to happen, but you need to know where you are. And that's the unfortunate reality, is some of these cities are full of crime. But most of it is avoidable crime, if you've got common sense. Obviously, there's some occasions where people are just complete and utter victims, and they weren't asking for it at all. But if you've got no street wisdom, you have no common sense, then, like, sadly, people get reality checks, right? They figure out the hard way. My dad always told me at a very, very young age, don't walk around a city with your phone out, or, you know, be careful don't put money on the table or something like that, you know? You get it drilled into you as a kid. Beware of criminals, but some people clearly didn't get that. Coin Operated says I'm in California. Dubai and Pacific time are 12 hours different. My bad, lol. Yeah, no problem, man. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying I find it funny how people in the US always say good morning to me when it's almost midnight. I just find it funny. But I'm not having a go at you, man. It's all good. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap up the stream here. We discussed the tariffs. We discussed which altcoins I'd be buying, and I went through pretty much all of the questions. The very important couple of things to mention. First thing, all I ask is that you smash up the likes. Let's try and get the likes as high as possible. Everyone who's enjoyed the stream, got any bit of value from the stream, hit up the likes and share it maybe with someone who could get some value from the stream. And then secondly, get on the wait list for the Navigating Crypto in 2026 course. This is going to be releasing, full release, very, very soon. It's going to have its full release in the next few days, I believe. And I cannot wait for that. Cannot wait for it. Because people are going to get so much value, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the positive reviews on it. Me and Cryptex have worked very hard on this course, and it gives you everything you need to know to operate crypto in 2026 successfully. So you're not exit liquidity, and you're not buying super high and getting wrecked. So make sure to pay attention to the course. 3 hours of content and monthly updates. There's 2 ways of getting the course. You can buy it on its own, which you just get the course alone and the monthly updates, or you can get what I just mentioned on top of all the other perks in the bundle. And if you go for the big bundle, there is a discount code available if you use the code bundle 2026 at checkout, okay? Bundle 2026 at checkout. Use that code and you're going to save yourself 25% off. That's a huge discount, and I haven't increased the price, even though we're adding a whole new perk to the bundle. So the bundle's the same price as what it was before I just added this major perk to the bundle. So you're basically getting it not only $1,000 for free, but you're also adding on the 25% discount on top of that. So the bundle's a massive opportunity now to get in while it's at a good price. Because, man, lifetime mentorship, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're still going to be able to contact me. That's a pretty good deal if you ask me. But yeah, guys, appreciate all of you. Appreciate everyone watching the stream. Coin Operated says, Archie, can you tell us what you were doing before you got into crypto? Did you have parents that taught you about investing? No, I didn't. You know, some people sometimes think that I had parents with an investing background. I did not. My parents didn't even really know what the stock market was. I taught them what the stock market was, okay? Genuinely, they didn't even know what Bitcoin was, didn't even know what the stock market was. Like, you know, my dad he didn't go to college, just went straight into working in a factory and worked his way up. So, those are the skills. He doesn't come from this educated background. You know, he's very successful at what he does, but he does not come from this kind of upper echelon background. Comes from the streets of Liverpool. So, yeah, I never had any kind of financial education or anything as a kid. But if you can do that for your kids, it will definitely help. It's something I'm going to do when I have kids. Teach them about Bitcoin. Teach them about markets. But, yeah. But what I did have was a dad that steered me in the right direction, and you know, a great mindset was drilled into me. So I think what's very important is when you have kids, drill a good mindset into them. Drill a good work ethic, a good mindset. That's actually more important than the knowledge you give them. The mindset that you give them is more important than the knowledge that you give them. But I'm not telling anyone to, you know, how you should parent your kids. I don't want to come across as that guy because that's not good to do. I find it quite patronizing when people do that. But I do think the mindset is much more important than the knowledge you actually drill in. The knowledge is important, but the mindset is everything. If you haven't got the mindset and you've got the knowledge, you'll never amount to anything. But I appreciate everyone being in the stream. Hit up the likes if you enjoyed. And guys, I'll see you in the next live stream. Or I'll see you over in the Discord. I think there's going to be a voice chat tonight. So goodbye, guys. Appreciate you.